500.
G'day everyone, this is Expand the Phantom podcast. Our website is chroniclechamber.com and you can subscribe to our podcast via YouTube or through your favorite podcast app. Please do not forget to give us a rating so that others can find us. This is episode number 290A. Being a Phantom podcast, of course, we go with the A numbers and the B numbers, but this is episode 290A as we catch up on all the latest happenings with the Phantom from around the world. In this podcast, we dissect Phantom-related news from Europe, Australia, and the USA, as well as go into details on the latest daily and Sunday newspaper stories. And of course, I'm Steve. G'day, everyone, and welcome Dan and Jermayn. Dan, how are you there, buddy?
Yeah, really good, Steve. Good to be back talking Phantom again. We're settling in on a Sunday afternoon, and what better way to spend a beautiful spring Sunday than, well, in Australia, it's a spring Sunday, than talking about the Phantom.
I couldn't think of any place I'd rather be right now. What about you, Jerm? How's things over on the other side of the country?
Yeah, we've had about 27, 28, 29 degree days for about the past week. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. It beats my 9 degrees yesterday and I think 11 or 12 today. However, I am off to Fiji next week. So I'll be getting back to those nice 27, 30 degree temperatures once more. Cannot wait. Now, have you had dust storms or something over there, Jerm?
Yeah, for those who are on YouTube, the reason why I'm stuck on one side of the camera is because I'm having to use my work computer and it's got a dodgy camera. So which side would it be? No, this side.
The other way.
Yeah, other way.
The other way.
There we go.
Just about here, we've got I've got a bit of a dust section, so about here, so it's a bit blurry, so that's why I'm stuck to the other side. So hopefully that will sort itself out, and I'll get ourselves a new computer for the next podcast.
Very good. Now, with these podcasts coming up, like I said, 290, we're cutting down to 300. Any ideas what we could do for the 300, fellas? Or if not, I'll open it up to the audience. You know, if you've got an idea that you'd like us to do for the 300th podcast, please hit us up on all our socials. Now,
a special interview request if there's any particular interview creators or whoever Phantom related that people would like us to talk to, or if you've got ideas for a special topic or anything. How do we celebrate 300? It's a significant milestone.
I've got an idea for one. Maybe we can have a discussion whether the issue that the 2000th fruit issue really was the 2000th fruit issue, seeing fruit re-released issue 330.
Well, we're going to need at least 10 podcasts to think on that one, I think, and do the maths.
Yep. Right, yeah. So let's get straight into it now. So as was first introduced back in episode 287, we'll discuss the latest daily and Sunday stories first. So if you have any other suggestions or changes in how we can do our podcasts, please let us know. Yeah, we're all ears over here. So our daily and Sunday progress. The daily we're doing is number 266. The Avarice has landed. Now, there's what's going on here? We'll see what germ shows up on the screen, because I can't remember what was in the last one. But judging by this, the Phantoms had a bit of a chat with President Loaga and trying to figure out what's going on with this thing that's landed in the middle of the Bengalan jungle. And it started carving a path throughout the jungle, like a labyrinth, really. But was it a labyrinth? Is it something that it was pre-programmed to do, or was it just doing something randomly? Who knows? So the Phantom's gone to investigate it, and it didn't like being interrupted, you might say, and had a bit of a crack at him. And so the Phantom tells the president all about that. And he goes to have another look. And not only is the Avarice like a great big vehicle, but it seems to have its own little robot dog, or AI dog. There seems to be a lot of AI in this story. And people such as a fan Herb have informed us that that robot canines actually exist. But is this a robot canine? Because I've never seen a dog climb a tree. Well, I haven't seen a devil climb the tree. I'm sure he can do that. And we know how the Phantom protects all life. Does that also include AI life? you may have noticed that Luaga would have seen the Phantom's face when he sat down to dinner with him. So there's a lot going on here, fellas. Any comments about the story, its direction, its plot points?
I've really enjoyed the whole AI angle. It's very modern, it's very contemporary. I'm intrigued where it's going, whether like this dog and this machine is self-learning or whether it is actually controlled by someone. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying this modern take on technology.
Okay, what about you there, Dan?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the story, certainly. You said there's a lot of AI there before, Steve. It just feels like there's a lot of technology, which I guess is what you're saying, Jermayn, too, about it being contemporary. I'm still, and even in the panels you're showing at the moment, as we work through the last week or so of the dailies as we sit here mid-September, I'm still adjusting to seeing this Bluetooth earpiece on the side of the Phantom's mask and cowl, to be honest. That's almost every time I see it, it's, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. And there's a really good close-up of it there on, what's that, the 19th, sorry, the 11th, the 11th of September strip. Yeah, I'm struggling with that a little bit.
I think the only thing that I'm
you're a man of the
struggling
jungle.
with, yeah, is how it stays in his ear. But I don't really have a problem with it. Like if you look at this panel here is a good one example. In the last couple of years, Mike Manley's also introduced the extra gun belt that's goes across his chest. We've got an article on our website with some preliminary drawings from Mike Manley on that as well. But for me, the earphone thing doesn't work, isn't that much of an issue with me, but I can understand how some people might not like it.
And it's used as a narrative device. It gives the Phantom an opportunity to communicate with Avarice. So otherwise, would it be able to communicate? Does it have a speaker somewhere? We haven't seen that.
Yeah,
it's just going straight to the earpiece.
That's a really great point. And I guess part of what obviously the visual of it, but also, the old jungle saying the Phantom works alone. So I don't necessarily want him to be in communication with Garan or Luaga the whole time he's battling through. But the point you make here is the fact that now he can communicate with the machine. That is pretty useful. So hopefully, maybe we see it's contained to stories where the robot needs to talk to artificial intelligence robots.
The 17th and the 18th of September is a good example of with it talking as well.
Yeah. And what about this bit about Luaga seeing the Phantom's face? Where do we stand on that? Like, what's that in the old Phantom Bible? Are his friends allowed to see it? Even his closest friends, such as Luaga? I'm sure he's not about to marry him, and I don't think Luaga's about to die a very harmful and painful death.
So it's a very short list of people who have seen the Phantom's face. I think you might have done a post on it, Germ, or certainly it's listed on the Phantom Bible page. But it's only 7 or 8 people that have actually seen his face across the course of certainly the dailies and the Sundays. And I guess we now add Lamar Delaga to that list.
So Diana saw the Phantom's face in the 3rd story, and then about the 7th, 8th story, Phantom made a comment that he was the first male that has seen or the first man that has seen his face since since he became the Phantom. And then it wasn't until about the 50s, I think it was the Toadmen, was when you kind of have the legacy, the law element of you cannot see the Phantom's face, otherwise he actually died. That was the first time we've actually seen someone die. I think there's always been that element. If you're a friend of the Phantom, you can see his face. But yeah, it is interesting. I personally don't really have a problem with it. I think the thing that I have probably the biggest problem with him is the fact that he's drinking wine and he's in his civvies.
That's well, I don't never see him take a sip. Maybe it's just the design of the cup. It
is an interesting scene, though. It's not the sort of, exactly like you say, in his civvies, mask off, no glasses, Luaga's on the other side of the table as well. It's all a bit unusual for a Phantom story, which is not to say it's bad, but it's not something we probably see a lot of.
And I guess, again, if it is to be anyone, Guru and Garan are probably, they're probably his best friend, the Phantom, 20 best friend. So, look, we've all got best friends who we can let our hair out or, be ourselves. And I suppose this is allowing, the Phantom is allowing himself to be himself with his best friend and his wife.
Yeah, I guess it's certainly not something that you would have ever seen in the Cyberry era. And I'm thinking, through different scenes of the Phantom and family time and all the rest of it, in the treehouse and the marriage and the twins and all of those. Certainly in the Cyberry era, he would always have been in costume at all times. I think you would try and make sure you see the Phantom in costume in the strip most days, 6 days out of, 5 days out of 6 for the daily, that sort of thing. And I guess that builds your brand recognition and I guess storytelling has become slightly different in the in this genre these days.
Well, it's interesting you make mention of Cyberry. So in the normal life, which was the story which explores the Phantom being a normal person, when he's picturing himself in his house, washing the dishes and mowing the lawn, he's actually in his Phantom outfit. So that's interesting. But then there's the couple of the 1980s stories where the Phantom having vacations, and you do see him in his loincloth catching fish and stuff like that, where he's not actually dressed up as the Phantom. I think there's actually even a story in the 1990s. I think it's Buried Treasure, I think is the story where, because he's not actually in his costume, the jungle chiefs and other people don't recognize and believe that he is the Phantom because he's not in his jungle outfit. So that's rather interesting.
It was worth noting that we still didn't see his eyes, even though we had the candlelight just flickered in the right spots.
Yeah, no, for sure. So all of us readers are still safe.
Yeah.
Or is that because he was so drunk that he had his eyes closed?
You never saw him take a sip.
Oh, it's pretty close here on the 23rd of October.
So anyway, to get back to the main part of the story, I suppose, where do we think this is going? As we're recording this, Phantom has tried talking to Avarice and telling him, "Look, you failed in your mission. You may as well turn yourself off." And there was a beat there where you sort of thought, "Oh, maybe the machine's listening, and he's going to do it." That seemed a bit simple. I would have probably been a bit disappointed in the story if he just turned himself off and fallen out of the tree and we got job done, but now he's attacking Hero. Where do you see this going at the moment?
It's going to be surely this the fam's going to have some sort of hand-to-hand combat with this thing, if bullets aren't going to work with it. So what's going to happen there? You've got to watch out for those feeler things that he's got, zapping outside his head, and the plasma cutter seems devil's brew here, and maybe the next little week or fortnight we're going to get it.
I'm not sure. What I find interesting, you kind of touched upon it before, is as far as I'm concerned, it'll just be easier just to shoot the thing. He's coming, he's been shooting at him, just shoot him, see if you can blow it up or whatever. But it almost feels like the Phantom has made a conscious effort not to harm this thing, the dog, but also the other machine. So I'm curious why he hasn't, because look, as far as I'm concerned, if you're walking in the jungle and this machine, doesn't matter whether it's AI or an alien AI, like a predator, if it bleeds it, kill it. But yeah, it's interesting that the Phantom has not taken that stance. So I wonder why, and that's what I'm interested in seeing if Tony explores that, along with like what you said, Stephen, a potential fight.
I probably had just seen it as he's still in explore and find out mode. Yes, then it got aggressive and started fighting Devil, but it would have been difficult to get a shot in while you've got a wolf, essentially a wolf fight. How do you take a shot at that and miss your own companion? Then he tried to talk it down. Maybe now's the time to start shooting as it attacks Hero. But again, do you put Hero in danger? So I'd be very surprised if we went down the path of, it's artificial intelligence, so therefore it's a sentient being, so therefore I can't kill it because of my moral code. I would think the Phantom's moral code lets you shoot a robot.
I'd be in agreement with that one.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll watch this space, and I look forward to discussing it more in our next podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to see that it come to a Phantom face down with the I forget which billionaire exactly owns this one, Musk.
Mollusk.
Sorry,
Mollusk.
Mollusk. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it would be interesting to see a face down between the Fandom and Mollusk, but whether that takes place over video link or in person, yeah, that'd be cool.
Rightio. So, as always, let us know your thoughts. Now we've got the Sunday story. The Sunday story, it wraps up this coming Sunday. That is, the Commander Will See You Now. Now, there was a bit of a Leafold cameo in the past little bit. It looks like the writer had written himself into a bit of a corner. How did he get out of the office? No one knew, not even the writer, until finally he thought, oh yeah, he's got this little device, and it was all good. So what's happening with John X? Is he being sent on a suicide mission that will see him killed off? He'll never return. But I don't think that's going to happen. I reckon John X is a nice way for the Phantom to actually be present, but people still not knowing that he is the commander.
And I think this mission that he's being sent on at the moment is a good way to get him out of the jungle patrol until he's required for another story again, or to get back and help. He's going to need times, months or even years at a time where he's away from the jungle patrol because he's the Phantom. He's got other jobs to do. So
yeah, that's absolutely right. So he's been sent off on this suicide mission into Ivory Lana, one that Colonel Warrable, he didn't want him to go. He said, I'll go in your place. And John X, mate, the whole place would fall apart if you weren't here. You need to be here. The Colonel was worried for him, but he's John X. He'll be fine.
I've said it. I think I've said it before, but I hope this is a way we never have to see John X again.
Yeah, you don't like him.
No, I think he was a mistake, and I think this is a great way for Tony DePaul to write him out, and we never have to see him again. The other problem that I have with this story is I think it paints the unknown commander, especially towards the end with Colonel Werribee unsure about this mission that John X is going on. I think it paints the commander in a bad light.
Yeah, how so?
Don't go, Colonel Werribee's openly suggesting to go against what the commander has asked to do. And I don't think that's a very good precedence. And if I was the commander, I would be worried that next time I ask something to do that Werribee might not understand, is he then going to go, well, you sent John X, we haven't heard from him 6 months, so he's probably dead. Do I question this order as well? And then, if you've got a 2IC, you can't really have someone questioning your motives and all that. And so I think there's a seed of doubt that, I don't think's a good precedent.
that is a fair point. I mean, if this is real life, you can do something pretty easy by sending monthly or bi-monthly updates to Colonel Werribee about where John X is. The commander is in a position to be able to do that and say, actually, he has retired and is now living in the Bahamas as a free man or whatever. Could easily send that update. Could even take a photo of himself next time he's in the Bahamas, or have a Zoom meeting with with Colonel Werribee there himself and go, hey, I'm John X, I'm retiring. It's a fair point that you make. I think John X is. I haven't really enjoyed that alter ego of the Phantom as a character. I think that the stories that he's been involved in, because there's so many, you've got to explain it 3 different times almost, because you've got the unknown commander of the Phantom and John X all being the same man. It does tend to make those stories drag on a little bit, I feel. So as a character, I'm not, and as a character, I'm not sure he's added a great deal to the Phantom universe, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting idea. It had its place, but I think this is a brilliant way of Tony writing him out. And my opinion, I hope we never see him again.
Well, he's left his options open to bring him back or not, and both work perfectly. So
there's always an option always options. Now we're saying that this story is ending. It's ending on the 22nd of September. That will bring this up to 61 weeks. And before we went to air, we were discussing, does that make it the longest Sunday story? And what we've got is Return to the Temple of the Gods with 62 weeks, Return of the Thuggies, which is the longest at 65 weeks. So it's probably one of the third longest. So if we see any, so as we were commenting before, we see anything with the word return in it, it's going to be a long story. But what is interesting to note is that the last two stories have been the second and third all-time longest Sundays. Does that bode well for the next story? Is that going to be a nice long one as well, or would that be a nice short one? Just to give everyone a breather.
Well, I would like to see a short one, maybe, I don't know, maybe something a little short and punchy. The previews that we have seen from Jeff Weigel has posted some previews on his social medias. We'll put them up showing at the moment. It looks like it's a past generational Phantom story. So that would be nice to kind of see something, something different, featuring a past Phantom. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing the little title screen, which is different for every Phantom story as well. So looking forward in a week or so to be able to see what that looks like.
It is interesting that both of the last two stories, Return to the Temple of the Gods and this one, Commander We'll See Now. So we're talking, it's been 113 weeks, no, 123 weeks to get through those two stories. So that's, well over 2 years to get through two stories. So a shorter, punchier one, I can certainly understand that. But I think where this is going is that they're a lot more based on relationships and exploring relationships between characters, the Sundays. Like just the goodbye between John X and Colonel Werribee took the last 4 weeks of this current Sunday, or the one that's just finishing. So it would be cool to see a return to a bit more action. Certainly, there's a lot of action in the daily at the moment, though. To be fair, so I guess you're also looking for that balance. A couple of things about the Commander We'll See Now. I think the two big takeaways I'll think of when I think back on this story is the Lee Falk, breaking the fourth wall stuff, which is an interesting thing. It certainly gives us a bit of an insight into, I think, Tony DePaul as the actual author's thinking as he goes through a story. There's another one that I want to mention, but while just on the Lee Falk thing, what did you guys, because he came back 3 times through the story to make sure that we didn't miss out on stuff, and we even seen, really almost through a fifth wall by the time Lee Falk's walking down the street to buy a copy of the paper so that he can see the comic that he's written and he's about to write. Like that was a bit mind-blowing.
Meta.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because he's been using Lee Falk as a narrative device in the past, for those who come in late and to catch people up, and which is handy, particularly with these long stories. And it's a nice little nod to the originator. But yeah, I think this is that on steroids at the moment, isn't it? But it's interesting. I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it, I guess. Yeah.
So Dan, did you like it? Yes or no?
On the fence.
The fence?
Yes.
Okay.
More positive than negative. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
Because you've said in the past you haven't liked it.
Yeah, and I guess I'm gradually coming around. It's not something I'd want to see all the time, though.
Yeah. Probably the biggest problem I had with it was not Lee Falk. I would rather just see him at the start of the story doing a for those who come in late, or a mid story for those who come in late. I'd rather just do with that. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it kind of added an extra 3-4 weeks that was maybe unnecessary.
Yeah.
What my biggest problem was the whole interaction with Colonel Werribee and the unknown commander and changing the office. And we said this in the last podcast and I know the Sunday and daily stories are almost in their own universe, but it kind of sort of contradicts with what's happened in the Egmont stories. And for me, it was a little bit clunky, just that whole changing the unknown commander's office. I would have preferred it to stay the way it was.
Because that was going to be my other key point. The other key takeaway from this story is the way the unknown commander's office has changed, and that communication. And I must say, I really like it. I really do like the way that unfolded, and I hope to see it come on board in the daily. And the next time either the daily or the Sunday uses the Jungle Patrol, I'm looking forward to seeing, that conversation between Werribee and the commander face to face on the video, if you like. And I hope that Egmont and other creators come on board with it.
That was going to be my next
And
point.
the safe is still there.
Yeah, the safe is still there, but we didn't see the Phantom use the safe, so that's interesting. He broke out through the window. It'll be also interesting to see. That was going to be my point. My next point is whether Andreas and Jacob, the guys from Phantom Men, start instructing their creators to update the Jungle Patrol Unknown Commanders office as well. We might have to get them back on the podcast so we can ask them that question.
Let's add it to our list.
Okie dokie. So let's move on from the newspaper and go into the news. What do you reckon, fellas?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
I
So
always start the newspaper with the comic section before I get to the main news anyway.
opening up the news, we've got some pre-orders. So first pre-order we're going to talk about the Phantom game, the Phantom video game. What we're very much looking forward to is that's pre-sale is October 1st. So that's
not
not
far at all.
away at all. It's coming up quick. So can't
Well,
wait.
it's 2 weeks as we're recording. People listen to this when they listen to this, but October the 1st is not very far away. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So we've got to get down to every was it EB Games store?
EB Games,
and
yep, JB Hi-Fi, anything that sells a video game.
games, get in there and pre-order just one copy from each place, so you don't end up with 1,000 of them. But I think we need to let the stores know that we're keen.
Yep.
And if you can't afford to buy one from each of them, Dan is putting up his hand saying he's just told you to order them from every store, that he will help you pay for that bill.
You put the order in, you don't have to pay.
But maybe you don't always have to give your real name and phone number every time you order it.
Goodness. So can't wait for that. I know Ash is on the home stretch and trying to iron out all the little bugs and everything else that's going on, probably keeping him up at night. So wish Ash and his team all the best with that. Yep.
Yeah, so Steve, you're a gamer, so we know you're definitely going to play it. Dan, does your family have a device like a DS or a Xbox?
No, we don't.
Switch.
Or a Switch. So yeah, we know you're going to buy the game because you're a nuffy and you're an addict like the rest of us. So are you going to buy a device so you can actually play the game?
I think I probably am. I know that you can play it on the laptop, I gather. And I haven't explored that, but gee, it played really nicely on the device when Ash showed me at the Lee Falk dinner a couple of months ago. And yeah, we've not been a device family, much to the chagrin of my 15-year-old son. I'm afraid I might not ever see him again if I got a Switch. So, but if that's playing the Phantom game, that's probably all right.
So is he getting a Switch for Christmas with the Phantom game? With the proviso
that get the game.
Yeah, with the proviso that you're allowed to play it whenever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Could turn out to be very expensive part of my Phantom collection. But I have always said, if you've got something in your collection, you should take it out of the box and play with it, or put it on display rather than just keep boxed up stuff. So if I'm going to have to buy a shelving unit to put books on, maybe I need to buy a device to play a game on.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
So Stephen, quickly, which device do you have? Do you have a DS or do you have an Xbox?
We don't have a DS. DS is obsolete technology nowadays, Jam. The Switch is what it's coming on, the Nintendo Switch. Now, I've got an Xbox as well that I do most of my gaming on, but it's not coming out on Xbox due to reasons.
Yep.
It is coming out on the Switch, it's coming out on the PlayStation, and as Dan alluded to before, it's coming out on Steam, which you can play on your laptop or your PC or whatever it is. So, of course, I've got a laptop here, and we do have I almost said DS, and we do have a Switch. I was planning on getting it on the Switch and playing it on that, but it might be cool to play it on the laptop as well. See how it goes.
Be a bigger screen.
Well, you can connect the DS to the TV.
Can you? The Switch?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I've said DS.
you get a
Jermayn's got me
even I know
language
that
wrong.
one, and even I know that you get like a little holder thing, and you just pop it in, and then you set it up, and it
Yeah.
goes straight away, and then
Yeah.
you can pull the
So
little
you-
side little
yeah,
things off, and then you can use them as
the
like a little
controllers.
controller. It's
Yeah.
it's quite
So you
nifty.
got the Switch, and then you got the Switch Lite.
Mm.
So the Switch Lite is a little handheld thing. The Switch can be handheld, but also connects to the TV.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There you go. I didn't know that, but then I did know that DS were out of date technology. So we're all over the shop. You haven't come to listen to the Phantom podcast to hear about the latest in technological advancements. That's for sure.
Yes, that's it, especially when it comes to games.
There's a Switch 2 coming out soon too, I think.
Oh, there you go.
More pre-orders. The Melon Diary. It's that time of year again to get your pre-orders in for the 2025 Melon Diary. So there's the diary, the desk calendar, and a print as well as a little bonus. So this desk calendar is something new, isn't it? A little calendar to sit on your desk rather than a wall calendar. I remember when it first came to, oh, that's interesting, but I don't think you were too keen. Were you too keen on this one, Jim?
Look, I will be honest, I haven't brought the last two. The desk calendar I might get purely because, I do sit at my desk and have to look weeks and, days in the future and that. So that might be kind of handy to kind of be there, and then I can claim it on tax because it is for work. Um, and for those who haven't got the last couple of ones like I have, you can contact Malin through their email address, and you can get like back issues, I guess, of their last prints and stuff like that, and diaries and war calendars. So if you've been slack like me, you can still get it, or you can contact Peter Stephen, and because Peter Stephen usually buys about 10 of every diary, and he might be able to help you as well.
I think he stopped that in the early 2000s.
Interesting point you made there, though. I didn't even think of that. If you buy your own diary, you can claim it on tax. I remember seeing that from work. You don't have to use the work diary, but if you buy your own, claim it on tax. Here you go. You can buy a Phantom thing and claim it back on tax. Who would have thought?
That's a slippery slope. It's established as something for the accountant.
There's it's interesting you talk about buying Phantom and claiming on tax. I've got a copy of this article. I'll put it up here on the screen if you're watching it on YouTube, where this guy actually got into trouble and got a please explain by the ATO for trying to claim his Phantom Comics purchases as a tax deductible because he tried to claim it as work and stuff like that. So this was an article from like the early 90s, so I'm not quite sure if the rules have changed, but with the diary and the desk calendar, you will be able to claim it on tax, but I'm not sure about the rest of your collection yet.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Get the diary and the calendar every year. I really like Malin's products. They produce a really nice looking thing. I can understand people's reluctance because it is pricey for what it is. Let's be honest, while we talk about writing it off on tax, very few people are actually using it as a diary. And I guess because it's not in people's faces in bookstores or newsagents, I would think that the fewer and fewer people are just picking it as a diary that they might use. It's more of a collector's only thing. I will say that the print and we got to mention the covers by Shane Foley. I think he's done a magnificent job. I know they're doing a hero and devil themed diary. That's the theme for this year. We've seen Mr. Walker theme, Diana themes in the past, but now to have hero opportunities to see some really nice hero devil art through the diary in particular. So yeah, and kudos to Shane Foley. I do like the Malin prints. They're a nice little size, and always really good quality commissions that they've got.
I do like the themes.
Thanks.
The themes are brilliant. It's better than just having a hodgepodge. So yeah, we'll agree with the themes.
Talking about themes, Christmas theme. Christmas is just around the corner, and covering details for the Phantom 2025 Christmas album. And as we know, the Swedish Phantom Christmas album is the longest ongoing Phantom comic series in the world, beating the Swedish regular series and the Fru comic with their first Christmas album coming out in 1944. So, and on the pardon my Swedish, On the Ajulading website, we see that the 2024 Christmas album for future orders, it's listed at 99 SEK, which is $15 Australian or $10 US. And you'll be able to buy at shops and other website providers from November. Cover of the comic is a Luca Roberta, who also drew the 2023 Christmas album cover. We have got The Vault of Missing Men, Lee Falk and Cy Barry classic. We've got The Little Girl by Lee Falk and Cy Barry again. And we have a facsimile of the 1974 Christmas. That's something they've been doing in the past, putting a reprint of the earlier stuff. Am I right in saying that, Jim?
Yes, that's
Getting
correct.
nods from there. And then the 1974 Christmas album had The Little Ones by Lee Falk and Cy, The Fire Goddess again by Lee Falk and Ray Moore, and The Bike Gang by Lee Falk and Cy Barry. And thank you very much to Andreas Eriksson for the news about this Phantom and Christmas album. Remember, if you spot any other Phantom related news, to please hit us up at chroniclechamber@gmail.com or via our social media. Now, you'll be getting this one, Germ, being the international edition of something.
Yeah, look, I really like their Christmas albums. I'm one of the goals in my Phantom collecting black hole vacuum addiction is I want to get one of all of the Christmas albums. I think I'm missing about 10 of them, most of them from the first like half a dozen or dozen years, because they're quite expensive. You're looking at probably about $150, $200 plus upwards for each edition. But I love especially the old school covers. So yeah, no, I will be buying it, and hopefully one day soon I'll be able to have the complete set.
Very good. What about yourself there, Dan? Is this something you're going to add to your collection, or you just admire from afar?
No, I mean, I like the look of it as well, but no, I don't have any Swedish Christmas covers, and I'm probably not going to start now. Foreign language books, as you've got to draw lines somewhere, and if I can't read it, then I've seen all those stories before. No, that's the long way of saying no. I'm not buying it. I'll spend my money on the Malin stuff instead.
No worries. Staying overseas, we move over from Sweden over to Italy. Publisher Editoriale Cosmo Publishing publishing Italian created Phantom stories. I'm assuming that. So, as we all know, Italy does have a rich history with the Phantom, publishing Phantom comics before Australia, before the United States, and before Sweden. Did they do it Did they make it in the 30s or was it the 40s there, Jim?
So they published
the first one?
they published some comics in the 30s.
For a long time, people thought that the first ever Phantom comic was an Italian one in the 30s.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was just making sure that my brain was saying the right things to me. So Italian publisher Editoriale Cosmo will be producing a new miniseries to celebrate these Italian creators and their Phantom legacy. No word yet on how many issues will be published, but we can confirm that there will be including stories created by Angelo Todaro and perhaps other Italian Phantom creators like Fellman. Here's a fan favorite. We believe that the stories will be reprints that first appeared in the Frew and Egmont comics. These comics will be 192 pages, so lots of bang for your buck. But how much buck will you need? $15 Australian, $10 US, 100 SEK, 850 rupee, and we got 8.9 euros.
Plus postage, I'm sure.
Plus postage, I'm sure, yes. And they'll be printed in black and white, okay? And there is a link up on the Chronicle Chamber website if you would like to pre-order your copy, which will take you to the Editoriale Cosmo website.
Quickly jump in. Since we wrote that article, we can confirm that Massimo Gamberi will be having some of his stories published in this series as well. Which, of course, are the Frew stories that he's created. The Reef Legacy sequel story, and I think he's done 2 or 3 stories all up, including the Robot Phantom story, and another one as well.
Right. So do you reckon, do you know which of those stories are going to be in this edition?
I don't know. From what I know is they're looking at it being like a bit of a mini series, so there might be 3, 4, 5 issues. I guess as long as it sells, they'll probably keep publishing it. I would assume every issue will be focusing on a different artist. So, the first one might be an Angela Tadero, then they might do a Massimo Gamberi, and then maybe even a filming and stuff like that. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Sal Belluto obviously also has Italian connections, so he might be another artist they look at some point. Be interesting because it's Italian created stories, isn't it? Some of those, obviously, you've listed off. We have seen in Frew comics before. In fact, we would have called them Frew stories that Frew commissioned them. I wonder if we'll see stories come back the other way as well. Some of these that are uniquely for this Italian one, perhaps come back to Frew. Either way, it's either extra revenue or extra stories for Frew.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way of looking at it, is that these Frew created stories, because every time they get published by another publisher, Frew get a cut of it, and it's like what happens with Egmont, and then even the creators get the extra cut as well. So it's, if these stories are being published all around the world, you're right, it's good for everyone involved.
In a sense, of course it is in that sense. I just hope that it doesn't fill up Frew's publishing schedule to the point where we don't get any more of the Australian created stuff, or that they don't. And I know we feel that they are going to slow down on the amount of new stories that are being created by Australians and by anyone from Frew, because of the costs that are involved, and certainly this is a good way for us to keep getting new stories that other people have produced. But I have, and we'll talk about it when we review comics and all the rest of it, I do find, and this is maybe a personal thing, but whether they're Italian or even the Scandinavian stuff, a lot of the times stories that are produced by other cultures and other countries don't hit the same. They pick up on different elements of the fandom lore, and other parts of it are important to them than what I've gotten used to through either the American dailies and Sundays and any of the Australian Frew created stuff.
Look, that's a very interesting point, Dan. I think it's interesting whether you're okay with the American stuff, but you're not okay with the European stuff when talking about
the American stuff. Is in the Sundays that is the fandom. That was all I read in Frews as growing up. Obviously, those on repeat. So of course that's my phantom, so to speak. And yeah, as I say, it's nothing wrong with the other stories from other nations, other cultures, but they hit a little bit different. And I suppose I've been a little bit coloured by Phantom's World stories. The Italians stories that we've seen a lot of the Phantom's World, and even the giant size Phantoms, don't tend to be my favourite stories, let's say.
Yeah, no,
track record of being rubbish.
Yeah, look, that could, I reckon.
So, you're right, Steve. A spade is a spade.
I don't think we'll go too far into that, because I reckon that could actually be a topic of conversation for our next big questions podcast. But I think it's actually, that's one of the things I love about the Phantom. The Phantom can be cross culture and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and I reckon we'll, if it's okay with everyone else, I think let's stick the pin in it, and we'll re-explore it in a future podcast, because I think that would definitely be worth exploring in more detail.
Very good.
We're not going to be too sharp a pin, because we're still going to stay overseas with news to come out soon for a German publisher, and some news on a new USA publisher. We're just keeping this a little bit, no solid facts on this one, Jen. We're just keeping whetting people's appetites.
Yeah, I think it's just like keep an eye on our website, keep an eye on our social medias. It's stuff that we're kind of working on. We're just, when we don't like to deal too much on just rumors. We like to, where possible, and we do this with a lot of our stuff, is we verify. A lot of the times we'll actually send the article to the publisher or to the creator or to the people involved and say, hey, look, this is what we're going to write. Is there anything you want to add or anything like that? So we're just working through some finer details. So that's what we tend to do. we'd rather be second and make sure we get it right. Because yeah, we don't want to really deal too much in hysterica and fake news, seeing that tends to be all the rage these days.
Yeah, we prefer to be right than have to apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item, we've got Matt Kyme talks about his news story on the radio. So Matt Kyme's been on the radio before, I think like community radio station over in his part of the world in Eastern Melbourne, I want to say off the top of my head. And he's been back on again and speaking a new story. I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but no doubt it's probably on the radio station's website.
The recording of it goes for about 2 hours. At about the 45-minute mark, he starts talking about it, and we will add it to the P3. We'll download it, edit it, and add it to the P3, as well as the first one that he's done. Dan's going to be working on an update of the P3 in the next couple of weeks.
I would like to think so. School holidays at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. As our P3 librarian, we're not breaking anything because he's talked about it on the radio. So what he's talking about is his new story. On our last podcast, when he was on our podcast, he brainstormed this idea about doing a what if the Phantom couldn't actually not die? What if the Phantom was actually the man who could not die, was the person who was actually injecting fear because he couldn't die. And so it explores that. There's a little bit of a horror theme. It's like a what if type of story. Shane Foley is drawing it. The whole story's been approved, and Shane Foley has started drawing the story. So it will probably be a story that we'll see next year. But it was I think it's going to be interesting reading it, and it might upset a few forkers. But
so they say will be a divisive story.
I think it will be. I could see Dan see him thinking about that as I was talking about it. So it'll be interesting to review that story when it comes out.
Well, it sounds like a story that I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading these sort of stories. And even in one of the things we're going to review today, or today in part B of this podcast, is a story that has those sort of supernatural themes. They're interesting to read, and then I put them in the not real fandom, doesn't apply basket.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Moving on from story news and international news, something a little bit closer to home. The Phantom Koala, the infamous Phantom Koala, went up for sale, and at least one member of Chronicle Chamber was just a little bit too slow out of the blocks in order to get this. He didn't think he would have had a chance with his Diana, but apparently there may have been a chance there.
I could not believe it. When the Germ, I think, would have sent the post through going, oh, you won't, here's the listing for the Currumbin Phantom Koala. And I looked at it, I had a chuckle. I've been and seen it. We made a trip on one of our Gold Coast holidays to go and see the koala and get photos with it. So, I was amused. The price was far more than... it was actually, I thought that was pretty good value, to be honest, listed at $1. And I thought, geez, anyway, long story short, about 6 or 8 hours later, I showed my wife in jest. I said, oh, look at this. This would be funny. How would this look in our front lawn? And she thought about it for about 2 minutes. She's going, you know what? Go for it. I'm like, oh, wow. I couldn't believe it. So I, left the room so she couldn't change her mind and started. And unfortunately, I was a bit too slow, and it's gone to a close friend of the pod. We won't reveal his name here, but someone who lots of Australian fan collectors will know. Also a Queenslander, so didn't have to worry too much about, transport's still a bugger for this 2 meter square koala that needs to be in an outside location. It's close enough to where I live that I'm looking forward to being able to see it again, because I know that he's planning on refurbishing it and getting it back have a scratch. And I think hopefully we'll be able to share some photos of that journey. It's not in terrible shape, but a bit of love and care will do it all the world of good. And it's great to see it go to a true fan who's going to love it.
Very good. And no sour grapes there, Dan. You're sounding pretty positive about it.
Now I am. The day after, I was a bit like, oh.
So I want to
Okay.
know, Dan, with the $1,000 that you had earmarked to buy this, have you brought anything else with that $1,000? Because you were given $1,000 to spend on the Phantom.
I hadn't thought of it like that. You're right. That could be good koala. As long as that's not koala money and linked to koalas rather than phantoms. So,
Mate, I think you're a brave man if you try getting something else rather than that.
I'll just march in with a Cyberry Sunday and say, look, I got this instead of the koala.
Yeah, you have fun with that. Yeah, so some sad news now with the passing of USA artist John Cassidy. Only quite young. He's only 52 years old, and really at the peak of his powers. He only produced 2 Phantom covers for Moonstone and Phantom back in '99 and 2003. However, particularly the Moonstone cover, that was quite famous. I've seen that one a lot, like when you Google Phantom in USA, and quite the iconic pose with the guns across his chest. But John's work, of course, is more wider than just the Phantom. What was he's done X-Men, Captain America. He's received multiple awards for his work and nominations as well. But the obvious question may be how he came to draw a cover for Phantom in the first place. And from what we understand, the cover came about because of Ben Raab, who was writing for Phantom at the time and who then moved over to Moonstone before his TV work. And you can find out more about Ben Raab on our podcast, episode number 186 to be exact. Another thing that may interest some fans is that the original artwork for the Phantom cover, which is up on our website, was actually done in purple and required the editorial team in Sweden to change his color to blue.
So with the Ben Raab connection, what's actually interesting is I've been emailing Ben a little bit the last week since the news, getting a bit more of the story. So it was actually John who introduced Ben to Ulf Granberg, and then that's how Ben got the job at Moonstone, and then Ben wanted to repay the favor and got John to do the cover for Moonstone. And then, of course, Ben then moved on from Moonstone because of all his work for that and got the gig doing Warehouse 13 and Arrow, and then Flash and all these other TV shows and stuff like that, which, of course, he talks about in the podcast. So the question I then have is, how did Ulf Granberg get John to do the Phantom? So I haven't quite figured that one out. I've got some feelers out and we've asked the question. There's a couple of us working on a few angles to try and get some background information on that. When we know it, we'll probably create an article and update the current article that's on our website. But yeah, something interesting.
Yeah. And there was another passing as well. Spanish comic artist Jose Maria Ortiz Tafalla passed away as well, 92. So he was born in Barcelona, Spain in 1932, and his comic career began in the 50s. And he published, about 40 stories for German Bastei. He was the illustrator. We had Peter Minigan, who wrote his stories. He also worked on other non-Phantom stories such as Masters of the Universe, Roy Clark, Tenax, some Disney stuff, and Quattro Capitanes, and Jaco El Terrible, just to name a few. Now, I was not familiar with his work, but recently the German publisher Wick have remastered and reprinted his stories in their current publication, and you can watch reviews of those comics up on our website as well. And thanks to the work of the Wick publications, or Wick in particular, we would never have seen Jose's work in modern times. It would have been lost to antiquity. But there's rumors going around that it may be published in Fru in some soon upcoming editions. Would that be right there, Jerm?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what we've been told that, yeah. Phantom Men have also started publishing some of the stories as well.
Artwork is definitely standing up the test of time.
Mm.
Just looking what's up on our website, that's quite excellent. I really, yeah, I can see Tom there and Rex, and yeah, and definitely of the time in the 70s and what have you. So we thank you, Andreas Eriksson, Ian Wheeler, and John Freeman from downthetubes.net for bringing this news to our attention. And we do have links to the original articles. The first issue of Lightning Strikes has come out. So we know Lightning Strikes is over there in Ireland. So it's Lightning Strikes and TASQ School Monthly Digital Magazine is out now. Yep, the Talat Academy of Sequential Art, TASQ. Of course, in this partnership with Lightning Strikes. So on the cover, we've got Phantom, we've got Mandrake the Magician, Dennis the Menace, Flash Gordon, Hagar the Horrible, all being held up by spinach eating lovable sailor man Popeye. Issue 1 pre-orders can be made now. They are €2.5, which is about $5 Australian, $3 US, 230 Indian rupee, and 300 SEK. A subscription for it can be ordered as well. We do have links to those on our website. Now, this was a digital comic, Germ?
Yes, digital
Oh,
comic.
yes.
So we've
Will
I've got the first
will there
one.
be anything printed at all, though?
Yes, they have their annual. So their yearly annual, which will be printed. So on the website,
Okay,
it
very
lists
good.
the various, you can either just get the monthly or you can get kind of like a yearly subscription, which gives you the monthly emailed to you along with some merch, which will get sent to you, and then they'll print out an annual as well, and then get that sent to you as well.
Very good. And you've said you've already got the first issue?
I've got the first issue of the monthly. I'll probably wait for the second issue of the monthly, and then we'll do a review of what they look like as well.
And the merch, is that arrived, or is that a come once a year sort of thing?
The merch has been sent. So we'll probably, with the review, we'll do the merch, and of course, probably, wait for 2 issues just so we can have a bit of a look at it, so we can get an idea of what to expect.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
So any idea what the merch is, or just surprise us in a few weeks?
Along with the digital and then the annual that is printed, they've released some posters, which is of the cover, which you talked about before, with the one with Popeye holding up everyone, and then there's also little pins as well.
Okay. Now segue from some, I'm assuming that's all official merch. We got some unlicensed Phantom pins by yesterday.com.
Is this the sparkly one that you sent through?
Yes,
A
the
sparkly
sparkly one. Yeah, look, they're not bad.
It's very sparkly.
Yes, it is very sparkly. So
How big are they?
I don't know. I haven't received them yet, but we've been able to source. So we will be having one for our spring Patreon prize. So
Don't win the Patreon prize. They're $10 US, and but unfortunately they're listed as sold out on their website. So they're getting restocked. Now they're not called.
They sold out quicker than the bloody Currumbin koala.
Now they're not called the Phantom pin. They are the Walking Ghost rather than the Ghost Who Walks. So just a little.
And so anyone from KFS, if you're listening, it's certainly not anything to do with the Phantom.
No. And the use of purple and a domino mask is just coincidental.
Walking Ghost.
Yeah. Okay. There's a Phantom event that's planned for Brisbane to tie in with the supernova up there. A bit of a Brisbane chapter of the dinner, from what I'm hearing. Does that sound about right?
Oh, look, I think you could advertise it as a Leaf Hawk Memorial Bengala Explorers Club dinner hosted in Brisbane. I think the intention is to get back. I don't intend this to be the wrong way at all, but just to get back to the roots of what the dinner was about, in terms of it not necessarily being a huge fundraiser, auction, and all the rest of it, but just a catch up of like-minded people who want to sit around and talk about the Phantom. So Christopher, who was new to the dinner this year, was super excited about it. He's based in Brisbane, and he's done the legwork to get it organised. I know there's a date set. November the 9th or something like that, I want to say, around the weekend of the Brisbane Supernova event. There has been an email about it sent to anyone who is on the Leaf Hawk Memorial Bengala Explorers Club mailing list. And so if you haven't received that, check your inboxes, or get in touch with us, and we'll get you onto that mailing list, so that you can find out about that. Yeah, should be fun. I can't imagine that there'll be 60 or 80 people like there was at the Sydney dinner. But the idea is just a smaller event, just a bit of a catch up and a chat, and being in my local area, I look forward to getting along to it.
Ah, fantastic. Another thing, I should have put this on the run sheet, Jem, my apologies. But next weekend, on Sunday, the 22nd of September, is the Melbourne Comic and Toy Fair down at, if my memory is at the Darabin Centre or Rec Centre, something like that. And there's going to be a number of Phantom people there. If I remember correctly, Paul Mason, he came down last year for it. He'll be there again this year. I think Matt Kyme, Grange might be there as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that around the place. I don't know if I can make it there. I'm actually flying out to Fiji the next day, so it would be like buying $1,000 koala. I don't know if I'll be able to get to that, but hopefully, if you can get there, please share your pics with us, and we hope that you'll have a wonderful time. Rightio. Any more news before we wrap up, fellas? The wine. How did I miss the wine? But Phantom themed Cab Sav from Bad Boys Booze. Now they've used the Papua New Guinea shields, quite famous. And as their labels, what are they called? They're 2018 Eden Valley Cab Sav, or Cabernet Sauvignon. Oh, yeah, I should pronounce it rather than just saying the old Aussie Cab Sav. And it features the real life Papua New Guinea shield from the 1970s, 80s era. Now, I do like a glass of red. I thought, oh, maybe it was just in a shop down here, so I wouldn't have to order it. But no, I think I do have to order it from the winery direct. I haven't seen it in any shops, well, down here in Ballarat. Anyway, if you would like to order it, we've got links on our website.
Unfortunately, we seem to have crashed that website the day that Tim put the post up, and it hasn't come back. So I clicked on it just now, and I do know that some people were able to order and receive their bottles of wine, but they must have been the ones who got on in the first 4 or 5 hours, because again, it's a bit of a theme. Things just sell out really, really quickly. And as I click on it now, the account is still suspended. So unless the link is perhaps expired, we'll have to look into that perhaps.
So maybe try their email.
Yeah,
which is info@iwineandglobal.com. Sorry there, Jem, I was just talking over you.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. Email them and you can order through them.
All right. Very, very good. Now, for those of you who would like to know what type of wine you'll be getting, the description is a deep crimson in colour with vibrant black olives, spiced cedar, cloves, and fresh blackcurrant aromas. A refined and focused palate displaying complex brooding characters with a rounded and fleshy mid-palate. A wine with lovely structural tannins which will mature gracefully for many years to come. On the palate, it's full of berry flavours, very soft tannins, and acid. It's easy drinking, yet complex. So it might do well with a bit of cellaring, maybe not 400 years, but maybe give it a couple and see how you go.
Last podcast we did, your wife commented that this was the most nerdiest podcast. She's probably wondering what type of podcast you're on now, talking about flavours of wine.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, I didn't need all that information. They could have just said it was good old-fashioned jungle juice, and I'm sold.
Yeah, it's good old Aussie jungle juice, this stuff. Rightio. So I haven't missed anything else. I think we're good. Got the boys laughing. Rightio. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for listening and watching us or doing both. You might just have us silent in the background. You just enjoy our devilish good work. Good looks, I should be saying. Now, our website is chroniclechamber.com. You can email us at chroniclechamber@gmail.com. We would love to hear your thoughts. There's a couple of things that we've touched on today. We'd love to hear what you think about them. So give us some thoughts, give us some feedback, give us your opinions on our social media platforms. automatically go into our draw for a monthly competition of free Chronicle Chamber swag, and who wouldn't want to get that? You can subscribe to us via YouTube or through your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes or Spotify. Now, thank you once again for joining us. Please get in contact with us, and as always, happy fandoming.
Happy fandoming all.
Happy fandoming, everyone.
500 years ago, he washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck. And upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, "I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die." The Phantom! The ghost who walks. The Phantom! Enemies beware, the Phantom's always there, but you won't mind the Phantom. He finds you